morning, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting, if anything is regular now, but regular meeting of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We're also sitting as all special taxing districts, and this is the April the 20th, 2020. It's 9 a.m. We will have an executive session later on at the end of the meeting, so just to let everybody know, that was the first thing in our agenda. So I'm gonna delay that until the end of the meeting, and then, so I'll go on to the regular session items. The first item in the regular session is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll have Supervisor McLeod from down there, direct us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I forgot he has to have his microphone next to him, but it's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So the next item that we have in the agenda is call to the public. Call to the public is held for the public's benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified in the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, action taken as a result public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and a decision at a future date. Now, because of the special restrictions that we have placed in terms of keeping our physical distancing, social distancing, have decided the way we're going to handle this is you can send your questions through email, or you can call in. We have one line you can call in, and if you're here, you'll be asked to come in and address the board. I think we did have an email last night, and Christy, would you please read this to us?
Yes, and we actually have two now, so, Susan. The first one, do you want me to read the person's name as well? Yeah. Okay. This is Katie Platts, and she says, when the virus first became a problem, we were told to stay at home to allow hospitals and healthcare to get prepared for handling large numbers of infected people. It now seems that the stay-at-home is being used to keep people at home till they can't catch the virus. Why was the strategy so drastically changed? Have you not been able to get prepared? The cold and flu coronaviruses should tell you that nothing is going to make it disappear. Are we expected to have our lives destroyed by this virus by losing our jobs and security? It seems we are trading the possibility of getting sick for becoming destitute and hoping to get food from food banks and losing our homes eventually. I don't want to see our citizens destroyed because some people might get seriously sick, myself included. Anyone who wants to stay home can still do so, while those who want to get on with their lives move on. And that's the end of the first one. Let me pull up the next one. This one is from Brenda McAdams. I would like to request information on the following. First bullet, who is responsible to inform the public of potential exposure to the COVID-19 virus? I refer to the recent exposure to consumers at the Del Sol market. Her second bullet is, what are the policies/procedures of the county in conducting contact investigations? Third bullet, and this one has several sub-bullets. The main header is, will the county work with YRMC to post to the public the data being provided to the Arizona Department of Health Services per Governor Ducey Executive Order number 2020-23. And the first sub-bullet is, number of inpatient COVID-19 positive or patients with suspected COVID-19. The second sub-bullet, number of ventilators in use by COVID-19 positive patients or patients with suspected COVID-19. Third sub-bullet, number of COVID-19 positive patients or patients with suspected COVID-19 discharged from the facility per day. And the last sub-bullet is, number of COVID-19 positive patients or patients with suspected COVID-19 seen in the emergency department per day. And she ends with, thank you, Brenda McAdams.
Okay, I hope that everybody that sent the comments, or specifically those two ladies, understand that we need to have an email or something to respond to them. It won't be, we're not allowed to respond to a question like that. We're not allowed to discuss anything that is not particularly in the agenda or been posted. So what we do in this particular cases is we listen to the question, and in this particular cases, we will answer, or staff will answer the question, send them the information as appropriate. So please, if you're sending in a question, make sure that we have a way to contact you, go back to you and give you an answer, because those questions are pretty good questions. It's just that we can't get into a lot of these discussions because it's not posted in the agenda. I know that's going to sound like a cop-out, but it is the truth. We just can't discuss publicly something that hasn't been regularly posted in the agenda. Otherwise, the public will not be able to be present if they needed to make a comment regarding whatever those comments are. So please, again, if you send us a question, be aware that we may not be able to respond to you right away, but we will have staff get back to you with the proper information or response to your questions if it's available, or if it's possible, or if it's not against statute, state statute or something. So please, thank you very much for your comments, and somebody will get back to you if you left us an address to get back to you with. So please, if you didn't, just contact us again or contact the county again, and we will proceed to give you whatever answer we can come up with. Thank you. All right, anybody on the outside that wants to address the board? Do you know? Can somebody check and see if there's anybody in the public that would like to address the board? I'm going to leave the call to the public open throughout the meeting so that if somebody shows up and wants to say something directly, we will then take their comments. The next item in the agenda is presentation, proclamations, and appointments. During this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission, the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. No legal action will be taken. Does anybody have any appointments or proclamations? Well, we don't have any proclamations. I don't think so. Is there any appointments? Any presentations? If not, then we'll move on to the consent calendar. In the consent calendar, the items listed will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. We have items 1 through 19, and they're consent items. Normally, we would have present with us most of these department heads that will answer any of the questions. I would ask the board members that if they have any questions on the consent item, we get the agenda on a Wednesday normally or a Thursday. So please, if you have a chance and you have any questions, contact the specific director and ask them the question, get that answer. This is not the time where we want all those people coming in and being in the boardroom. So some of them may be outside waiting for us to call them in if we need to, but most of them have been directed to wait. And if we have any questions, to come over within a reasonable amount of time. So, and again, these are difficult special times. We don't want to be exposing people to any more closeness or any more situations where they could come in contact with somebody that may or may not have the virus. So I'll entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 19 on the consent calendar. If any of you wants to pull any items, please let me know now.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and second, or moved and second to approve the consent calendar items 1 through 19. Any discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And I remind the public that all these items are they're in the internet, they're in a web page, and they can be accessed, and you can review all the items that are in our agenda, including the material that we all receive to make decisions from. All right. We have discussion and action items, and the first one is facilities management, discussion and possible action regarding a potential solar-covered parking lot project for various counties' facilities, including details for outright purchase, long-term lease, and solar service agreement options. There will be a PowerPoint presentation, so come in.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Dave Hilland, your shaggy hair, Director of Facilities Management. Thankfully, I don't have too much left anymore, so it's all right. We are back again to discuss the options for solar-covered parking facilities across the county, specifically at 5 or 6 sites. And we have Luke Almasola here again to go through. We were asked to go back and provide further details with regards to the purchase option, as well as the lease option and the solar service agreement option as well. So Luke will provide a quick recap of those and some further detail on each, and a quick look at as well as the site layouts. Just wanted to mention too, there was a comment made about one of the site layouts at DDS that could be adjusted. Actually, I think out of the 6, probably all 5 of the 6 would probably have some minor adjustment to the layout. What we're looking at this point in time is the overall size and generating capacity of them. So there'll be some tweaks, a little bit pushing panels because of some changes to parking lots and things like that that have happened over time. But the general concept is there. And with that, I'll let Luke come up and provide further detail.
Morning. Thank you for inviting me to return today. We have an updated presentation for you. We're going to be going over 3 main items. One is a little bit more background about Solon and similar projects that you guys will be seeing and that you're considering. After those examples, we have an update on your specific sites and those example financing options for you guys to review and choose from.
I know you have a mask, but I'm glad you're not putting it on for the discussion because, you know, Jesus Christ.
My wife.
Nothing with solar in it? You couldn't find anything with a solar panel in it?
I wanted to take a little cutout of a Solon logo and put it on here, but that'll have to be for the next version, I suppose, since my wife makes it. I can get something like that in. As always, we can make this more of a discussion. If you guys have questions or comments, feel free to chime in at any time. A little bit more background about Solon. We are headquartered right here in Arizona. We pride ourselves on doing as much work in-house as possible. That includes everything from development, to engineering, to design, procurement, construction. 100% of our employees are here based in Arizona. And that includes all of our construction crew, all of our electricians, and all of the people that we employ locally to build these projects. We've built over 200 projects, similar projects to the ones that Yuma County is considering here, and that includes over 300 megawatts of capacity. And then we also facilitate a lot of financing options. You can see we've done over $200 million project financings for those that choose to finance the projects. Of course, there's always award examples, projects of the year, #1 commercial EPC solar contractor in Arizona. I've been with Solon since about 2012. I love working for Solon. I'll be here for as long as they let me. And that's because our customers love Solon just as much. And that makes a big difference when you work for a company where your Solon, your customers love it. Because of that trust and that love, that leads us to a good portfolio of past and current customers. These include many cities and counties, including City of Tucson, City of Yuma, right up the street here, Pima County, and other people. We also do, now Solon, we don't do any residential solar, but we do a lot of large commercial projects and utility scale projects. That includes 100-acre solar sites for APS, TEP, PG&E, and other utilities throughout the Southwest. A few example Solon projects, and then I'm going to give a few different case studies, 3 different case studies. These projects include multiple City of Tucson projects that will be very similar to the projects Yuma County is considering, consisting of covered parking. We do larger commercial sites, including colleges. Make sure I stay over here. Including colleges, roof mount sites. A lot of our cities and counties choose what you'll see over here in the top right-hand corner at their fleet services centers. That's to protect a lot of the expensive equipment that the public facilities uses. Everything from fire stations and those expensive equipment to public service vehicles and other equipment. Now we build those at 13 feet 6 inches high or higher, so you can drive semi-trucks underneath them or any other equipment that needs to be protected from the sun. And we'll have more on that coming up here. The first similar project that we've included in here for you guys is Flowing Wells School District. So they purchased with a loan about 2.5 megawatts. So to give you guys a rough comparison in size, Yuma County is considering a project of right around 1.6 megawatts spread over 6 sites. This was about 2.5 megawatts over 8 sites. So very, very similar there. They did everything from shaded basketball courts, and you know how lucky those kids are. I played in the sun when I was little. To ground cover to a lot of shaded parking. Approximately 450 parking stalls, which makes all the difference when you put your hand on the steering wheel in the middle of the summer, right? The next one example, similar to the project that Yuma County is considering, is our Pima County projects. So we've been installing projects for Pima County going back many, many years. The most recent 21 projects were done in 2016, 17, and 18. They installed a little over 7 megawatts. This includes similar sites, including sheriff administration sites up in the right-hand corner, juvenile justice facilities in the bottom left-hand corner. This is, again, their public services center in the bottom right-hand corner. We also do a lot of high security facilities, including 911 centers, emergency operations centers. So when we work on facilities that are high security facilities here in Yuma County, we have experience with that and can take the utmost precaution there. This is a national insurance provider there in Tucson. This was about 2.5 megawatts at a single site. The impressive thing about this site is it shows Solon's strength as a construction company. So that's a lot of solar panels, about 6,700 solar panels that was constructed and put in place in just 6 weeks. So that's important when a municipality is considering a solar project. You don't want somebody out there for months and months taking up your parking lot and being a distraction. So the sites that the Yuma County is considering would be built in a matter of weeks. We work with your guys' schedule. Hey, when's the best time for construction? When's the worst time? What's the upcoming schedules? And we work around your guys' schedules to plan construction accordingly. If you guys are driving by this building, you might see a little gecko on the building as far as the insurance company provider there. One of the largest in Arizona. Questions on these customers or recent examples, projects that are similar to the counties? Okay. I believe Susan called a large portion of the customers that were on that list. And I'm assuming they had good things to say since you haven't kicked me out yet. Probably something similar to, yeah, we love Solon, but not that Luke guy and his bad jokes.
Yeah, look, somebody told you about how I didn't like the long, presentations.
Yeah.
You better get it moving, dude. This is a long presentation.
Well, let's go into the most interesting
Remember.
part, which
Short
is
meeting, though.
Yeah.
your
you gotta
project
keep it a short
specifically.
meeting.
That one is, so the first site is the main library. We receive a lot of good responses when we do projects at library. Everything from constituents writing in, thank you so much for the solar covered parking, and kids draw sun pictures and all sorts of things. People love these projects. That's a beautiful facility there. This is the draft plan at Development Services. Now, depending on what goes on with the construction of a potential building in the bottom right-hand corner there, this layout may need to be adjusted slightly, but you can see there's plenty of other space there to accommodate solar panels, and we can work through that.
Why wouldn't it be out in the front?
That's an option. Yeah.
I would think so. That's where the
I'd want it
customers
in the
go.
front for the customers, yeah.
Yeah. We can work through those options and finalize.
You know, my only concern with that is we're looking at that as a possible site for a future building. So, it would be a little bit, we'd be a little careful that it can be moved to another location if need be.
If you put it out front, though, that
We
front's
don't
not
plan
gonna
on
be
that
touched.
front
That's right.
parking lot
Yeah.
isn't gonna be moved, so,
Yeah, that's what we would highly recommend is we don't want to move the solar panels once they're constructed because that's a hassle, right? So we would just work around, hey, where would the building potentially be going? And then we would put the solar panels in the other places there. Foothills Library. The option B you'll see here has a 14-foot clearance height. So that way you're not blocking views of the building. That's a nice new building. That wouldn't preclude any views from there, especially since, it'd be up so high and usually cars, vehicles, people are down low. So you're gonna be able to see right under it.
Is that a Tesla charging station at the end there?
That's a T. It designates a tall canopy.
Oh,
So just a reminder
I
that
thought it was Tesla.
it's a tall one. That would be fun. That's always an option for you guys to put
Charging
chargers
stations.
in at these locations. They can mount easily right on the column. So library projects are a lot of fun. You'll see included later on, we provide online monitoring. So anywhere that there's access to the internet, you can pull up and see exactly what the solar system is producing, how much money it's saving, how much water it's saving. And I personally volunteer to do presentations for the library staff at these locations to give them an example. Hey, here's the solar panels, here's the inverters, here's where it converts the power from DC to AC. And that way, if any schools or students or anybody come to the library, they can give little mini tours, show them the online monitoring, and other
Now-
options like that.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question on this. On the option A, it shows a bank of cells over the sheriff's office parking lot. Does the sheriff's office get any power from it, or is it just going to the library?
It would all be connected to the library.
Okay.
They just get a little
get a
benefit sneaked
shake.
in for covered parking for them.
I was just curious. I saw it over there.
Good.
I haven't been really close to the process, for some reason, for one reason or another, but why isn't there something for the Somerton Library or something for the San Luis Library when you talk about libraries?
Yeah. There's definitely an option to include the San Luis or Somerton libraries. This initial batch of projects was recommended based on the highest amount of savings. So these are the projects that save the county the most money. I'm assuming that, as the county works through these projects and they're constructed and the county loves them, they see that there's a good amount of savings and the construction is of high quality. I imagine those sites could be included in a phase 2. There could always be future evaluation. Like, for example, on this site, the sheriff administration site also has a meter there. And there would be the potential to add more covered parking maybe down there in the front row
Yeah.
for the sheriff, and they could get more covered parking, and would call that, somewhat of a phase 2.
Okay.
This is the adult probation site, which was included here. 3 parking canopies, right, and then the 2 at the bottom there. Pretty straightforward on the site. And then, of course, the juvenile justice. This is one of the larger meters within the county. You can see that there's a decent amount of solar power parking there. So on to the public works. This is an option where we could have a 14-foot clearance height. So similar to the other county and city projects that we showed examples of. You can park anything under there that you can drive on the highway.
But doesn't the distance have anything to do with, with the meter? Where's the meter in that situation? If you're providing power to the building, to the main building, through some.
This is the meter right here.
Oh, so it's underground.
This is like a little shade structure outhouse building type of thing, and so you can see it's actually not that far.
No.
You'd have to tear up the road to put it in there and then,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, so there's a few different options. So depending on the site, sometimes we will use underground boring. So we'll just put it right underneath, or often at a facility like this, probably what we would just do is trench an open path, and then we backfill it and make it look as best as possible. Yeah. Okay, so for any questions on the layouts? Okay. As far as the financing options go, there's basically 3 different options that you guys can choose from. Now, with all of these options, Solon is going to build the exact same solar system, right? So this is not new technology. This is solar panels fixed in place, no moving parts or anything, no proprietary, new inventive solar system. This is tried and true, tested and proven, 25-year warranty on the solar panels systems. So regardless of the financing option that the county chooses, we're going to build the exact same high-quality system. All of these options include a production guarantee, 25-year solar panel warranty. The ongoing operations and maintenance expense was included in the savings estimates. And of course, the nice thing about this timing is that with all of these options, financing, engineering, and permitting can continue during these COVID-19 restrictions. So the majority of our staff is working from home right now and can continue to work on those items. So the main differences between these three, so there's an SSA, a lease, and ownership through a loan. So the main difference is how they're billed. An SSA, or most commonly referred to as a solar services agreement. In other parts of the country, you'll hear this referred to as a PPA, or a power purchase agreement. This is a special option that municipalities and nonprofits only are able to take advantage of in the state of Arizona. In this type of structure, the county would put up $0 up front, $0 down, and they would continue to purchase the power that the solar generates at a reduced rate from what you guys are currently paying to the utility in per kilowatt hour. So let's say the solar system generates 100 kilowatt hours that month. The county would pay for 100 solar kilowatt hours on a rate per kilowatt hour basis. A lot of municipalities like this option because it's often viewed as the lowest risk option. And let's say, for example, Solon, we come in and we're just terrible and we build a solar system and it doesn't produce anything. The county would, in that scenario, get free covered parking and they would pay basically nothing because the solar system's not producing any energy, no out-of-pocket expenses, very, very low risk. The second option is a leased type of option. So this option has a fixed monthly bill regardless of production. So basically the system kilowatt hours are estimated over the course of the life of the system, and it's expected to produce 100 kilowatt hours. The county is billed every single month for 100 kilowatt hours regardless of the production. Some months the solar system will produce 95 kilowatt hours. Sometimes the solar system will produce 105 kilowatt hours. It can vary each month. It should average out, and it does, but the bill is fixed regardless. This option has a high amount of savings, a little bit higher than the SSA, because one of the major reasons, even though it's financed a little differently, is because there's no sales tax. So right off the bat there's a big savings in sales tax for the county. And then of course the ownership option. So this is where the county is able to go out and procure a traditional loan at a low interest rate, and the county owns the system itself. In this type of scenario, the same as the SSA and the lease, Solon would be responsible for handling all of the ongoing operations and maintenance, making sure the warranties are upheld, and all of those systems are in place. So that way, there's no additional burdens on the county to operate and maintain or take care of the system or anything like that. So next, we'll go into the different savings scenarios for each of these. Any questions on the differences between these types of details? I know we went over these a little bit last time. So you can see with the different financing options, there's a different amount of savings associated with each project. So this is a summary. Here, you can see the purchase over the term offers the highest amount of savings because the county owns the system. You're not paying additional interest rates or anything like that to any additional third parties. Total estimated savings of over $1.1 billion. Year one savings of right around $3,400. SSA is the lowest risk option, perceived risk. Year one savings would be actually a negative $24,000. Total savings over the term, $595,000, and then a lease, negative $629 and $752,000. Great thing about these types of projects is you guys are able to put in solar covered parking for your constituents, for the public facilities, and get shade structures, and they have a return. So it's pretty amazing. Most people, when they install, shaded parking or structures or facilities at their public services center, they don't never have any sort of payback. It's just a sunken cost, money out the door, right? So this is great in that you guys are actually able to have a return and savings on the infrastructure that's put in place.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. I don't know if you can answer this, but by saying that, why wasn't that looked at every building in the county? Because obviously there should be a savings in every building with especially the SSA or the lease.
Yes, great question. So yes, that oftentimes with almost all the projects, there will be a term savings. There's often a an amount of year one savings that a municipality is able to tolerate. So these are your guys' highest saving projects, the projects that will give you the highest amount of savings. Now there's other sites in the county that are great options for solar that I would suggest be included in probably a phase 2. So after, the county becomes comfortable with this type of situation and the construction is viewed as high quality, those sites could be included in the next phase.
But if there's no out of pocket for the county money, why not include all the buildings?
Because we hadn't chosen which way we go.
But at least I would have liked to seen that example. I mean, at least with all the buildings, because, and I'll say it up front, you weren't, Chairman wasn't here when you made the presentation, and that presentation that I got from you and staff, it was for us to purchase it. That was it. So that's why,
You didn't ask.
that's why, so.
And
So
one
now,
of the,
for a savings, I think if it's a savings, let's look at all buildings.
so there's an option to include other sites in the project, and we can definitely review those and provide additional examples. If one item that's usually done by municipalities is they authorize a county administrator to move forward with the project and work on the final site selection. So that would be an option, giving authority to the county administrator to add additional sites as appropriate.
How many more additional sites would we have? I mean, would that include places like the court system, the jail district?
Yes.
The
Library,
health
Although-
district?
the
What we
library.
looked at initially is Luke and Dave went through all the county buildings and found that there were 11 that potentially could provide savings in the long run at the end of the day, at the end of the 25-year period. But then we reduced that number because some of them, you had these high savers offsetting ones that don't save any money until like the last couple of years of it. They're actually costing more than they are saving. So that's why we limited to these 6 projects that would provide savings from virtually day one, probably the second year, not year one, because you saw a little bit of a cost there. So that's why we went from 11. We went from all buildings to 11 that they said would generate savings over the long term. And in order to reduce risk and gain more savings, we lowered that number to the 6 that we have here. Because the other of the 11 didn't provide savings from day one. They provide savings later on. And
Yeah, it's
just as a step one, I felt like we should just go with the ones that are the most savings and the least risk to the county. So that's why these are before you today. We could go back to the 11 if you want to do that.
Do
But
you
some of them
remember?
do not save money until the very end
Fourth, fifth, sixth.
of the financing period.
Yeah, it's easy to figure that out. I mean, there's an infrastructure cost up front. You have to put them up. So whatever savings you have in terms of energy, you're putting them out to pay the infrastructure. I mean, it seems simple. But do you remember what the 11 buildings were? Does anybody remember, Scott, anyway?
There were other libraries
Mm-hmm.
and the courthouse,
Courthouse?
the new
Huge,
courthouse,
yeah.
and the detention facility.
Mhm.
Those were rooftops,
Those are
mounting, which is difficult. Unless you're going to replace the roof, it's not advisable to put them on rooftops because then it may risk the integrity of the roof. If we're
Yeah,
planning to replace the roof,
Yeah, we got
anyway,
experience
it
with
would've made
integrity.
sense for those 2. Those are 3 of the 4 of the additional ones that.
Yeah, we don't want to put anything on the roof, man. You have integrity issues with roofs. But anyway, your question?
Also to Supervisor Porch's comment on the other buildings, remember, these are the ones that have the most savings, but, and this is over 25 years, is that correct?
Yes.
So the problem with that is that at the rate the county buys its electricity, over the last 25 years, there's been a 1% increase in rates over the 25 years average. This assumes 2.5. So those other projects would probably be money losers because the assumption is not correct.
No, the assumption that's based on what's happened in the past is not correct.
Yeah,
I-
and I've got the figures here. It's, they broke it down over 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20. Over 20 years, 2.1, but over 25 years is 1% average annual percent increase. So while these will all provide something, it's those savings are going to be less than half, actually, over 25 years.
If nothing changes.
Given the
Historical back.
historical factor.
Like you said, we used the 20-year figure at the 2.1%. We lowered that to 2%. And the savings are also, we included the savings if utility rates escalated at 2% in here later on also.
2.5.
Yes, so all of these initial figures are at 2.5%. At the very end of the presentation, we've included estimates if utility rates only increase at 2% as additional supplemental information.
2.5% over 20 years?
It's been
Or every year?
Every year.
Every
an
year?
average of
Well,
1%.
that's
over the last
50%,
25.
that's a lot.
So it's been 25% increase over 25 years.
It varies year to year. Some
It
rates,
does
when they
vary
have
year to
a
year.
when they have a rate increase, rates could go up
Oh.
10%.
I guess-
some
I
years
guess-
they'll go up 0%. It
Yeah,
just kinda
I
depends.
guess we all have to take a look at this as a benefit other than just a simple power benefit, which is over time, would you be saving fuel, you'll be saving other things, and you'll be doing some, in public relations wise, it's nice to, to go solar, and it's nice to get shaded, structures and so on and so forth. So you may be a little too enthusiastic about the actual savings at the end, which who would know what would happen in the future. At the end of the day, this decision probably cannot just simply be made based on those projections, because I think they're too enthusiastic. We may have to, take into account, other things, which is what you're going on to next, positive public relations, the carbon savings, and all that kind of stuff, which really it's difficult to convince Supervisor McLeod of, the carbon savings and the, global warming impact type of thing. It's not gonna, it's gonna be a little difficult, but continue.
Well, and the purchase, if I may, the purchase, what's the term of financing, the purchase? Was it
25 years.
a 25-year
Three
loan?
3.7%,
At 4%, I think it was?
3 something.
Yeah, it was.
3.5, right?
3.28.
And this would be something that Gil can speak to. We were originally hoping it was going to be a lot lower with the current conditions. We've estimated that to be higher, just to be on the safe side. One other important note to review on this is the year one savings, regardless of whether we assume utility rates are going to go up at 0%, 2.5%, 2%, 10%. The year one savings, those are exactly what they will be regardless in your
They're
very
not.
first year of installation.
They're in a negative though.
Yes, but you can see it doesn't. Utility rates do not have to go up that much in order to account for $3,400 or $629 in the purchase or the lease option. Regardless, you guys are getting all of the infrastructure, shade parking, and all the other benefits that you guys mentioned. The total term savings, maybe those are only half, but they're still going to be savings. Maybe they're only half as big. If they go up more, then let's just call it. If they go up more than half of that, it's a bonus. And that's one of the reasons that Susan was so careful in selecting these potential 6 sites, is that we're trying to maximize your year one savings and limit your risk with utility rates increasing.
Well, I get that year one savings, but when it's in the negative, you shouldn't use that as an example. You should say, you maximize the savings after year one. But I understand your concept. The concept I do understand. Okay.
Well, we go back to the original premise too, that purchase is better than lease.
To me, it is. But we haven't gotten to the end of the presentation, so go ahead.
Sure, let me show you guys a few different examples of the different purchase options here. So in these, I know there's a lot of numbers here, but let me walk you through this. It could be and simplify it here. So this is basically years 1 through 13, and then years 14 through 25 here. When we do the detailed savings analysis, we want to make sure we take into account everything. We don't want there to be any surprises. So up here at the top, we have your utility savings, and then out of that, we take into account all of the potential expenses, ongoing operations and maintenance, inverter replacement. This assumes we replace every single inverter in the solar system over the course of the term. And then we've even included insurance in here. So after that, out of your revenue savings from the utility savings and your ongoing operations and maintenance to maintain the system, after that we take out of that the capital expenditures, basically a loan payment, and that's where we come up with the savings here. As opposed to like an SSA pro forma, where there is no responsibility for the county to operate and maintain or pay separately for insurance, inverter replacement, none of those items. This pro forma is much more simplified. So you have basically your utility savings, solar SSA payment, and that's it. So your utility savings minus your SSA payment, that gives you your utility savings. There is no cash flow on the capital expenditure. There is no loan or anything like that. That's why this is all blank. No other expenses included in anything like that.
But we're in the negative for a few years, for 6 years,
On
7
the
years.
SSA, yes.
Yes, on the SSA example, yes. The lease is very similar in that all you have is your utility savings. Then you take out of that your lease or your solar payments, and that's how you get your savings here. So you can see in a lease example, you'll be easily into savings in years 2 or 3 very, very quickly.
You still have a high purchase price at the end of, what, 7 years?
Yes. That's one of the reasons many people opt to purchase the systems, because they own it from day one, and that will maximize the term savings. If you want to limit your expenses at the very beginning, as far as cash outflow and risk, then people will choose an SSA or a risk.
All right.
This is an example of the online monitoring that's included in the system. This can be put here in the office building, something for guests and constituents to look at while they're waiting for an appointment. These monitors are often included at the libraries, so people can see them there. Of course, there's your EPA benefits, which some people care about, some people don't, kind of depending. That's the summary. I don't want to make the presentation too long, Mr. Reyes.
Too late.
Too late, all right. It was so short
It was
last
okay.
time.
It was okay. It wasn't that long.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I just
Supervisor
had a
Simmons.
question on, you said you can, the monitoring at the site.
Yes.
Can you put it online too, for people to be able to go online and see it?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
It can be included in the county's website, included on there. It look very similar to this. It shows each inverter's production throughout the day. You can see there's a little teeny cloud came over here and it kind of dipped down. This is a real world example from another customer.
All right.
So,
Okay, so the decision, it's from Mountain View High School.
yes.
It's in the site. I think, well, are you done? Is this it? Is this the last one?
That's it.
Okay, so we have 6 sites. It's obvious that I think myself that the projections of savings are a little high. But, if we're committed to going solar, which I don't know, I mean, the decision,
I'm not comfortable doing anything until after all this COVID-19 stuff goes on.
well, I don't, why
I
is
don't
it?
know, I'm just,
Well, I mean, this isn't going to happen like overnight. This is going to take some time, especially with the financing portion of it, whatever we decide to do. I mean, if we go SSA, I think it's simple, but if we go to any of the financing, whether it's lease or purchase, then we need to talk to Phil, to Hill. I was going to call him Phil now, to Hill and see where it's at, because that percentage seems a little high for a 24 years.
To the board. And this is the perfect timing because we're going through the budget process right now. So this is something that allow us to plan ahead. If we can put it in our budget projections, we can put it with our budget expenditures.
okay.
Either lease, SSA, or the outright purchase.
So what did you get the 3.28 interest rate?
Because of the type of the financing that we need to do, we need to go to the public, which means it's because it's going to be 25 years. This is not going to be a direct placement. We have to go and offer bonds. Usually when you offer bonds, they ask for a coupon for a certain interest rate. In this particular case, right now, the market, when this was priced, it was 4 and 5%. So people were saying, in order for me to buy your debt, I need you to give me 4 or 5% interest rate on different years. But to make it a little more enticing for you, they said, we're going to pay you a premium. So at the end, when you are paying me the balance that you requested, is going to be less than that. In this particular case, the premium is $762,000. So the original price was $4.1 million. When we pay the debt back, it's going to be 4.1 minus 762,000. We're paying a higher interest to get the investors to buy your debt, but you are going to be paying less in principal. So at the end, when you combine the premium and the interest rate that you're paying, the actual interest cost is 3.28%.
How far do you have to go before that happens? How far down the road? How many years? All of them?
So we get
This
to
is
that.
this is the pricing that we did not 2 weeks ago, I believe.
No, what I'm saying
Please
is-
consider that the volatility of the market right now, especially with municipal market bonds, it can go as high as 5%, 7%, low 1 or 2%. So we pretty much, when we are ready, if this is the direction that we want to follow, we're going to have to price this again, and
There's where that anxiety is going to come into play if we decide to
The
go
interest
ahead.
rates,
Now, the
when
lease,
will the
the
interest
lease,
rates go down? Yeah.
the lease purchase, is it fixed? Is it, that's what it
that
is?
is correct. The lease and the SSA are through Solon, and they have already given us the payment, the year payment. So it's already calculated. If you go to the next one.
So,
No, wait,
Mr.
wait.
Chairman, it's not a lease purchase, it is a lease.
Well, it says
You have
purchase
the
at 7 years.
option, with an SSA or a lease, you have the option to purchase it
But is it?
after 7 years.
Isn't that called a lease
But
purchase?
it's an option.
I know.
You can just
I
continue to
understand that. I
lease.
understand that. What you're saying is, look, you can lease it for 7 years. If you decide to purchase it after 7 years, you can purchase it, or you can continue leasing it till the end of the lease period.
Correct,
As opposed to paying a lease payment that's fixed, and at the end you own it,
correct.
right? Which is basically they finance it, right? Okay. All right. So okay. Well, I mean, the presentation was great. Thank you. I mean,
Thank you.
appreciate it. We're gonna have to make a decision here which way to go if we're gonna go. I tend to agree that a lot of things probably, with this COVID-19, probably need to take it a little slower, as we don't know what the budget's gonna look like next year. At the same time, we got to get back to some sort of normalcy at some particular point in time, and solar is not going to go away. I think it's the future. It's, at least in a place like Arizona, it makes a lot more sense than a place like Pennsylvania or some other place out in the north. I mean, my only concern, well, not concern, but my only complaint was we didn't include more buildings in it. I understand you. I understand.
They aren't paying
I
us back
understand.
soon
I
enough,
understand
yeah.
the concept. It takes longer for a smaller building or one that doesn't, consume so much electricity. But at the same time, when I look at, I don't know, Somerton, I guess, or you look at San Luis and you see there's no covered parking at all in those areas out there. I mean, I don't remember seeing any covered parking at all. It'd be nice to have some covered parking in both of those locations, even if it's just a covered parking on top of the savings. It's an investment in infrastructure anyway. But in Arizona, covered parking is a premium. So anyway, I don't want to make all the points for you. I wasn't here at the initial presentation, but what is the feeling of the board?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I did a lot of research when I did solar, and the only way it really pencils out was purchase. But I can see as the board's typically risk averse. And so I can support the lease option as well.
I think 7 years from now,
We may know better.
we would have
May know better.
to me, the 7 years from now, first of all, we'll get a savings after the first year on the lease. And secondly, with the interest rates, what they are right now,
Who knows?
who knows? But in 7 years, those interest rates may
The only concern I
same
have,
or lower.
the only
But
concern I have
because of the
with solar is
market
that
right now,
to me, it will not increase in value. over time. I mean, the panels are gonna get a little more used up, they're gonna produce less electricity. The system's gonna be older, so when you get right down to it, how much does it cost us now? Will it cost us now? 3 point what?
3.28 averaged.
No. How much will the system cost us?
Oh, 4.
4 million. So we do get a savings on the 7th year. We'll get about $1 million, not $1 million, well, close to $1 million worth of payments. We would have made payments every month. We would have reduced the principal, and then we can make a decision 7 years from now. Okay, so you would support a lease. You would support a lease. What about you?
I'd support a lease, but I just had a question on technology, the way it's growing so fast. Is there any upgrades included with that?
Oh, that's a good one.
So these systems are designed, depending on the site, they're designed to produce anywhere from 50% up to right around 85 to 90% of the building's power usage. So over time, if the building does need to have additional power needs, you can always add on to the solar system and add on more panels at that time. There's never really a point that comes in time, even after 25 years, say like at the library, you already have covered parking installed. Systems are still going to be producing over 80% of what they were originally designed to produce in 25 years. And there's never at any point you're going to want to take the covered parking down because you already have it installed.
Yeah.
But there is the option to always add more solar panels at a later date.
So I think your upgrade was more technical than anything else.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, because technology has grows so much each year. And to me, it seems like 25 years, there would be some other savings or technology that would increase savings.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
you can wait 2 or 3 years and see what else is out
Well,
there.
I'm just saying though,
mean,
is
I
it
remember.
upgradable?
I think that the supervisor from Somerville will tell you that getting the latest technological marvel doesn't necessarily work out, right?
It doesn't necessarily
Right,
pay for
Supervisor
itself.
Borges?
And it's not about the technology.
It's about,
It's about having that company here in 20 years. And if they're not here in 20 years, I'm gonna tell you again, I told you so, you know.
well, that's if we're
told you
here in
so.
20 years. I hope
Yeah.
not.
So, well, that's the risk.
Yeah.
I mean.
No, the risk,
it-
I mean,
I
I,
mean, but purchase is
But
better.
purchasing,
I can
no,
see Darren's
purchasing,
point.
if you purchase
Same
it,
thing.
it's, and if they're not here, the county has it on their own. There's not gonna be anything that you want to add onto it, you're gonna
No,
have to
and
pay
that's-
for it. Maintenance, everything,
Of course.
because they're
and
gone.
and that's why, like,
Right.
So-
that's why I
That's-
like
It
the
has
solar.
nothing to do with the company. If you purchase,
Yeah.
they can be gone next week and nothing
Oh,
changes.
yeah, that's what, yeah.
And it provides the majority
Oh,
of
look,
savings.
guys,
No.
I was just talking about the latest technology. They got a system that followed the sun. This is a pretty, stable system. This isn't going to require for us to be tinkering with, timers and, eyes and whatever that follow the sun. The one they got in Somerton was impressive. I saw it when they first put it up. But it was the latest thing, and it was, from a California company that really offered them every kind of whistle in there, every kind of thing in there. And that what happened is once the company was gone, they had a lot of problems getting the maintenance and getting, the changes that they needed to make that system work. And I think he had a bad experience. I think the people in Somerton had a bad experience with their solar array, because it really wasn't solar panels. It was much more sophisticated than that. I liked how it looked at the beginning, not after, you had 3 of them didn't go or the other one went the other way or something. So what I think the Supervisor Simmons was referring to is, as time goes on and technology, gets better, is there a possibility to update the systems? Now, these are pretty simple systems, and I think I can tell you from my personal experience that, I know that Supervisor McLeod will tell you that cars got a lot more sophisticated lately, but they're still the same thing. They are an engine, a transmission, they just have more intricate operating systems. I used to have an air conditioning company, and there's still a condenser, an evaporator, and there's still, a fan and a relay. It's just that there's a lot more sophisticated to make it more efficient. I don't know if you can really make panels more efficient, I guess, other than changing the panels, making them even better, that last even longer. The only thing that I think that I saw on the horizon that I think is going to become more common is a battery, something that holds up power longer, that allows you to, store more power. I'm not an expert in this, but, what I hear lately is that, the future is in having like a a battery that, keeps
So
all
you
this
could
power.
have- Yeah,
So you can,
have power
so you
at
can have
night.
power at night and you can have all the things, which I know it's more sophisticated. But at this particular time, we're making a choice on a system that's tried and true. I mean, it's not like we're buying a new system. This has been going on for the last 10, 12, 20 years. So what we're doing was looking at having some covered parking, having some savings and, testing a system for 7 years. That's basically what we're gonna, if we go to the lease, we're gonna go, we're gonna test a system for 7 years and then see if it's, if it works well, then, whomever is here then can make that decision. Given the COVID-19 thing, we don't know who's gonna be here then, so. Is there anything else, guys? Any other questions? Do we give direction to the staff, to the administrator to pursue the lease option and see if they can put it all together for us to make a decision
I would
sometime
like-
in the near future?
Martine, are you okay with that?
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? That's what I'm saying.
I'm okay with no pocket out of the county.
Okay, so we're talking about lease?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, all right.
I would, and if I'm still here in 7 years, I won't purchase it at all. I guarantee, I mean, it's.
You don't guarantee nothing.
We'll see the number. You guys are gonna see.
He's gonna, as time goes by, he will forget his
You'll
legal
see.
experience.
Martine, never
He
say
thinks
never
it-
and never say
He thinks he's
always.
never gonna
As a
forget that
finance
experience
director,
with Somerton. So,
It's not,
But why don't you say this? In 7 years, if the same company's still there, I may consider going on.
it'd be, I guarantee you, it'll be hard to see the same company.
All right, guys, so
It's just-
I'll need a motion in a second to go ahead and instruct the administrator to start putting together a lease purchase, a lease agreement, excuse me, not a lease purchase, a lease agreement for these 6 facilities. Is that what we're gonna stick it to, 6?
Yes,
Yeah, because they're the one that make the most sense.
yes.
I
Those are
hate
the ones
that.
that.
And I'm going back to San
I
Luis,
had one
I
more
wish there was some
question
covered
I thought of
parking.
earlier, Mr. Chairman.
Hmm?
The assumptions that you made, did they take into account the degradation over time?
Yes. 0.5% each year, the solar panels produce 0.5% less electricity each year.
Yeah.
And the
Unless,
mysteries,
unless you have a lot of pigeons, then it goes down to like 12%.
Pigeons.
Pigeons.
Ay.
And since we're leasing, you're gonna come clean them monthly?
so there will be a production guarantee included, and if they need to be cleaned, yes.
They don't.
There's too many pigeons, but yeah, typically.
Wait a minute, you have been to San Luis
We
with
get
the
enough-
Mexican
we get
pigeons.
just enough.
Yeah,
Just,
right about the time we need to come clean them, it rains. And
yeah. That's what my experience.
Yeah, right, it rains very often in Arizona. So,
It rains enough, believe it or not.
yeah, it does now.
Here lately it has.
Believe it or not.
All right, anyway, so it's a lease? Guys, it's a lease?
I'm okay
Okay,
with
well then, I have a motion to that effect, okay? Who makes the motion?
There is one thing I will add is a lot of municipalities, as they work through their first 6 projects, they like to leave the option open to add additional sites and potentially review those. So included in the motion, they usually include, let's start out with these first 6 sites and give county.
Well, if it works,
administrator
she'll come
authority
back to
add
us.
Options as necessary.
She'll come back to us.
You're well trained, good salesman.
Yeah. Put the mask on, dude. We don't want to know who stole this situation here. Okay, so the motion should be then, or will be then, that we go ahead and instruct staff, including the administrator and Scott, to go ahead and put together a lease of solar equipment for the 6 sites that have been put in front of us.
That'll be my motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion and second to do just that. Anybody else? Motion carries. Let's see. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
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 Well, that sounded like a painful aye there, man. Is there anybody against it? Motion carries. It's unanimous.
I did.
Thank you for your time today.
All right.
Thank you.
Look. Don't scream until you get out. All right, guys, then we're gonna move on. Thank you. What did they call him, Scott? I keep calling everybody Scott. Dave
Oh, I'm
Highland.
sorry.
Dave Highland. No, I said Scott a while ago, and they don't even look like each other. All right, so we're gonna go to, before we leave this subject, Supervisor McLeod, you and I that go back all time, we didn't like to lease anything. We sort of like to save it and buy it, but, I guess this new generation of high riskers here that we got here is forcing us into a situation where We'll just saddle the next generation with the expense, right?
That's right.
Good. Then we move
I'll be
on.
back in
Just-
7 years and I'll
just
say,
to
you know
remind
what?
you.
We could have saved a lot
Oh,
more money.
just say what he
Hey,
says.
and
I
just-
told you so.
And just to remind you, yeah, since I started saying, I told you so. Why did the county didn't used to do this? Huh?
Because we didn't
Because
want
it
to,
was
you know,
wise.
end up
That-
one day
that's
with
why.
two buds.
Purchase,
Yeah.
purchase is the best way to go.
Yeah, to me.
But that's okay.
Well, anyway,
Yeah,
it's over with, it's over with. We
With
went
the
into a
interest
lease.
rate where it is right now,
Well,
I
you know
think
what?
it'll be less.
I voted in favor, so I could ask for a reconsideration.
Well, you don't have too much time to ask for a consideration, so you better ask for it soon. Okay, now, Paul, the next item in the agenda is, wait a minute, where's, Buna? Yuna?
She's right outside.
Why don't we take her first, so that she can get, you know, she can get back to wherever she needs to go. We do have an addendum to the agenda, so let's get that done, so, you know, she's been sitting there for a while, I think she got bored of listening to the solar presentation. So the addendum is, authorize the county administrator to sign a letter on behalf of Yuma County as a guarantor at a pro rata share of 33.3% for the Greater Yuma Port Authority loan refinancing with First Bank of Yuma for the Gary Magrino Industrial Park. Buna.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Bina George. I'm the Executive Director for the Greater Yuma Port Authority. And the guarantor letter, the COCOPA has opted to not participate in this refinance process. So instead of it being a 25% equal share between every member entity, First Bank Yuma has given us the option to present the letters at 33.3 for City of Yuma, City of San Luis, as well as Yuma County. So essentially that is our request. The tribe is currently the servicer of the loan, and they felt, you know, the loan was held with no stipulations, and now they're being asked to guarantee a portion. Mr. Magrino's comment was they backed GYPA since it was tumbleweeds, you know, and they've asked that the other members carry on the liability from here on out. So we are a little over
Weird.
$1 million on the loan, 1,027,000.
I can provide a little background, hopefully not to get us too much into trouble. But the initial loan that the Greater Yuma Port Authority had was with the tribe, and the tribe had set the terms, and we had, you know, they've been really good about standing it when we needed to. They have been really good about, you know, doing whatever needed to do back when the organization really needed the help of, you know, and we couldn't approach a regular financing source for better terms. And I think that when we approached First Bank Yuma and asked for better terms, First Bank Yuma took a long time. It took months to get back to us with a proposal that was feasible. When that happened, I think the tribe rightfully, basically what we're doing is we're getting a loan to take out the tribe's loan. Mm-hmm. So it's, in essence, that's not going to be necessarily good for the tribe in terms of having an investment of the sort. So I can understand their frustration with it. They couldn't offer us a better deal, so they're saying, okay, if you take that deal, we carried you this far. You know, you guys need to carry the ball all the way to the end zone. So, you know, that's pretty much what it is. I do understand their position. I mean, and for the rest of you to know, we did ask the tribe to meet those terms, and they just say they couldn't. So it's not like we said, okay, we're going to leave you for someone better. We just simply found a normal, I would say, way to sustain the operations of the organization without having the tribe be the ones that back it all up. Mm-hmm. Correct? Okay. Is there any more questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Sure. Supervisor McLeod. No.
The way this is going to go down is there will be 3 entities carrying the entire load. So how will that work when properties sell?
Let me just say that in theory, that is the case. What the tribe is saying, look, we carried you all the way through here. So I hope it's not a matter of fairness. I think the question is more about, you know, carrying the risk. Is that correct, Supervisor McLeod?
Well, you know what, Mr. Chairman, like, you're on that board. I'll leave that up to you folks to decide. But I mean, it's something that needs to be considered if we're carrying the load, and at some point we're supposed to, you know, recoup our investment. I trust that that'll become equitable, considering you know, who's paying and who is not.
Oh, we're all going to be paying. Let me make that clear. What is being asked of us is not to pay a third of the loan, a third of the loan, a third of the loan. It's to guarantee the loan. Every entity is going to pay the same,
The tribe
including
is,
the tribe.
yeah, they're going to continue to be a member. They haven't expressed any interest on withdrawing from the board or no longer being part of the Port Authority. They just don't want a portion of this. So we will still have their.
The liability. They don't want a portion of the liability.
The liability, correct, because they've carried the liability since 2000.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay? So it's not like they're not gonna pay their portion. They're gonna pay their
Okay.
portion.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad I asked the question.
Any other questions? Yes, Supervisor?
There was some discussion amongst the county attorney with regard to the potential impact of the constitutional gift clause on this matter. In essence, what it appears is that the county is extending its interest on behalf of the tribe to guarantee the loan to the entity. And that's, of course, the Constitution prohibits that and would not allow it. I mean, there's a loan being made to the entity for which the four
Are responsible.
are responsible. However, the board or the county is responsible for 25% of the loan. They're extending their interest, their guarantee for 33 1/3% of the loan.
I get it.
That
But
passes
again,
muster.
I think that was a question that Supervisor McLeod, that was the tone of the question. Is the
Right.
tribe going to continue to support their end of it? And, I do understand the gift clause, and I do understand that the difference between 25 and 33 is something that is being offered additionally. In other words, we don't all take the same amount of risk. But we're not giving it to the tribe, or we're not, at least we don't look at it. We're giving it to the YMP, to the Great Yuma Port Authority, which is the entity that we all belong to. And we're not paying anything different.
But the bank would not extend the loan to the entity, but for the county's agreement to guarantee something in
33%.
excess of its ownership interest.
So is the city of San Luis, and so is the city of Yuma.
But that, they have the same concern because of the statute or the Constitution prevents them from doing the exact same thing.
Well, I
Does
do
it pass
understand the
muster,
gift
Bill, or
clause,
no?
but we're not giving anything to well, I do get it. There's that concern. Look, here's what we're gonna do today. We're going to have to make a decision whether we could do it, and then pending legal. And then, let's see if legal can get through this. Let's see if the resourceful attorney from the city of San Luis finds a way to justify it. Okay, because it seems to me like they have a concern about the gift clause, and if you can't get over that, we can't get over it. Okay? Is that okay?
Very good.
All right, so the motion is going to be, I hope, that we go ahead and support the petition of the Greater Yuma Port Authority and authorize the signing of a 33% guarantee pending legal counsel's opinion. Okay?
Does that work?
All right?
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been motion and second to that effect. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right,
Thank you.
get together with the attorneys, though. That's not so wonderful anymore. All right, so we took care of our first addendum, and we go on to number 2, county administration, possible discussion and possible action regarding the following legislative items: a report to the Board of Supervisors regarding proposed bills in the Arizona State Legislature with impacts to Yuma County, and update regarding strategies related to federal legislative priorities.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Paul Melcher, Director of Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs. Mr. Chairman, there is nothing to report back on the state legislature at this time. It's still convened until August 13th. What I wanted to bring to your attention is in most of our meetings lately have been focusing on stimulus. So this is kind of a 3-part stimulus update. The first part is there's supposed to be a negotiation on an additional $250 billion for stimulus for SBA loan extensions. The federal government issued the first $350 billion of that, and so they're looking at figuring how many pending applications and how many were approved but unfunded out there to extend that out for an additional $250 billion. So that's supposed to take place sometime today. We'll see how that progresses, but that was a specific point of negotiation that was discussed. Mr. Chairman, there are 2 other updates that are semi-stimulus involved. The first one is I wanted to bring it to the board's attention that the president released this weekend an opening up America again strategy. It was based on just the following guidelines. The first one is to look at the data regarding COVID-19 and over a 14-day period, make sure that there's a downward trend in cases reported, those persons showing symptoms, those cases that are going to the hospitalized, and then making sure that there's not patient care without crisis. In essence, what we're doing is looking at over a 14-day period is to make sure that all the factors regarding COVID-19 are trending down, so then the economy and society can be opened up in 3 phases. When you look at the phases, and I'm going to send this link out to the board rather than just trying to print this off for you, you'll see that the phases really focus on 2 things, is making sure that physical distancing and everything's working during phase 1, but also throughout each phase looks at protecting vulnerable populations. So it's almost what we've been doing in reverse now in terms of isolating everyone at home. It's going back to, let's make sure that as we introduce and reopen society and businesses, that those vulnerable populations are protected. In addition, there's it's a bill or a program. It's not really sure exactly what the identifier is for it yet. It's called Problem Solvers Caucus. This is being worked out in the House of Representatives between a bipartisan panel. And what that is, and again, I'm going to send you just the framework that's being discussed so far in the legislative update today, is the benchmarks are very similar, looking at the downward trend in COVID virus, but then also you're looking at reopening the society and business in somewhat phases, but there's real heavy emphasis on making sure that there's available PPE, that the hospitals and first responders are taken care of, supply chains are in place and ready to go to reopen, because there are 2 other phases in this that talk about reopening also means looking at additional stimulus. So for those businesses that might be cash poor but still attempting to reopen, start looking at the businesses and figuring that out. And there was also a final phase that was under discussion that was including infrastructure upgrades. So it looks like here's a program, here are all the checklists that we have to meet to reopen society and businesses. Phase 2, making sure that we have all the necessary funding in place so that businesses can reopen, and then phase 3, looking toward a future, looking what those infrastructure investments look like. Mr. Chairman, so again, as part of my legislative update today, I'll send those out in terms of the links. We have also the governor's conference called again today at 2 or 2:30, whichever meeting time, so that'll be part of that package, and I'll provide a comprehensive summary to the board at that time. I'll be happy to entertain any questions right now, though.
Do you have any questions? Not, just remain in the inside here for a minute or 2, okay? All right.
Mr. Chairman, do you know if the negotiations are going to include hospitals?
I can address that a little bit, a little later.
I know, okay. I haven't heard yet, so.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.
The next item in the agenda is board members and county administrator will report on, may discuss events attended on behalf of the county, may present a brief summary, current events, updates, scheduled for the Board of Supervisors meeting as appropriate. No legal action will be taken. Let me begin by telling you all, and that's why I asked Paul to stay, that although it may seem like the emergency is being handled by just a few people, it isn't. It's being handled by a lot of people in different ways, and I want to acknowledge some of them because I know I cannot acknowledge all of them. I'll begin with the board. Supervisor McLeod, who keeps up with everything from the state. Thank you for the calls and the messages regarding things that need to be done that I may not realize. I wasn't as carefully looking at my county email as I should have been. Supervisor Pancrasi, who knows anything and everything about what's going on at the state legislature. Thank you for, also letting me know what's going on. And Supervisor Simmons, who I'm sure has a district that is really tough, especially considering right now with fishermen and hunters and everybody getting restless out there. I suppose he needs to hide sometimes. And Supervisor Porchas for telling me things or advising me on things that are going on in Somerton with the tribe and keeping up with everything that's going on, first of all. So I do want to let everybody know that's listening to us that this is a team effort and everybody's got something that they're doing. Now, having said that, I want to recognize staff work, because without staff, we wouldn't be able to do the things we do. So I want to start with Susan, who, on top of having to deal with some difficult personal issues, takes the time to deal with all the stuff that's going on right now. And it is really a very, very complex and difficult time. Thank you, Susan. And from that point on, I want to thank Paul for also handling a lot of the stuff for me that needs, attention. And so thank you for making sure that everything that needs to go out with my signature gets done and gets out. Sometimes without, much review, but I'll trust you. And then, Kevin, who's also been keeping up with the information flow and been trying to keep it all together with this joint, what's it called? Joint Information Center. Yeah, I don't even want to say it. Joint Information Center, and keeping up with all the pressures from different people to provide more information that sometimes he has available. I know, and I already told him, do not wake me up at 5 in the morning anymore. But other than that, it's okay. It's fine. And especially to Diana, who happens to have handled this situation really well. I know that there's a lot of pressure on her to provide information at all times to all kinds of people, and she's been doing an excellent, great job of doing that. And she's certainly a calming force, and she certainly has the ability to tell people what they need to know without going too far, too deep into things that I'm sure she understands are serious. To the legal staff that has kept us from getting into trouble a lot, specifically and especially because sometimes people do not know that we're bound by a lot of state regulations and state statutes. And as we move forward with the process of an emergency, sometimes we don't necessarily, especially people outside, do not necessarily know that we have to get clearance, especially from legal. The issue of providing names and IDs of victims was one that comes to mind, and I want to let the citizens of Yuma County know that it wasn't a choice of ours that we didn't want to provide this information. It's by statute. We needed to either federal statute or state statute that protects the identity of patients. So thank you for taking it into court and losing, because losing was something we kind of knew it was going to happen, but we needed to have that legal protection for the county. Maybe residents sometimes do not understand that, but our job is to protect them from the consequences of doing things without checking with legal, which we just had an example of that earlier. I also want to thank staff that helps and supports: Cindy, Jocelyn, Christine, Desiree. I'm sure that I'm going to miss people because Barbara, there's all kinds of people that are making sure that things continue and give some semblance of, I guess, routines of some sort. It gives some semblance of the service that we want to provide our residents, and make them understand that at the end of the day, we're doing the best we can in the very trying circumstances. And, and then mention the fact that I'm sure that mayors like Mayor Sanchez and Mayors McCullough and Mayor Douglas and Mayor Anaya are doing the best they can within the scope of their abilities to also manage as well as possible the situation that we have right now. I have been in contact with our counterpart across the border, the mayor of San Luis Rio Colorado. I told Paul this some days ago. I certainly don't want to have a situation here that takes away from the fact that we live in a region and that this virus does not know boundaries, physical boundaries. It goes back and forth without respect for anything, and that we've been working for a long time establishing this regional approach, especially in economic development with the forefront and with some of the other efforts. And I wouldn't like to see that impacted negatively because of all the pressure there is from people across the border saying that people from this side take it over there, or from us saying that people from across the border bring it over. This is a very strange situation because we have a country where we have 700,000 people who are infected, in a country like Mexico who has like 8,000, according to them, 8,000 people who have been impacted or declared positive. But then we have Yuma County with 31 or 32 confirmed cases, and San Luis Rio Colorado with 70 or something like that today, 72 today. So all I wanted to do was make sure that we kept constant touch and communications with people across the border so that we don't have this particular situation basically damaged the relationship we've been trying to establish for so many years in education, in the educational side and the economic development side, and now in the health side now. Diana is also in touch with Border Binational Efforts, Health Border Binational Efforts, Mr. Guerrero, I think, from the state, and in touch with her Mexican counterpart in hopes of dealing with this situation in the best way possible. So that, I know that took a long time, but this is one of those situations where I think a lot of people do not know all the work that goes behind keeping things going, and I know they're listening to all these emergency orders from the governor, emergency orders from the city, emergency orders from the county, and they're thinking, just like we had that gentleman or that lady that called today that wants to know why we're not getting them back into back out in the streets and so on and so forth. It's not really a decision that truly has to be made by politicians like us. This is a health emergency. On top of that, I do not want to forget Tony Badilla, our emergency response person. He's also been in touch with his counterpart in all the other counties. He's been in touch with them about distributing food for food banks. He's been really instrumental also in keeping a lid. I think that's what the problem is, that sometimes people, when they're doing their job, you don't notice it because they're doing the job well. So if I forgot anyone or forget anyone, forgive me, but there's so many people making sure that things continue, life continues in Yuma County. I do want to thank everybody for that, for their support, and just ask for them to have a little bit more patience. And we will, as soon as possible, get you back to some semblance of, regular life, as we call it, but.
Throw another one out there, he's not a county employee, but Tim Dunn is doing a lot.
That's right.
Working with the governor's office to see what we can do to get this.
That's what I
opened back
wanted
up.
to address.
And our Yuma Community Food Bank. If
The
you
community
have
food
any
bank.
donations,
Everybody,
need
yes, everybody stepped out. I was going to mention Senator McSally, Senator Sinema,
Yes.
Tim
Yes.
Dunn, Charlene Fernandez, Senator Atondo, Senator Kerr. They have all been also in touch with us. We just had a sort of a conference call meeting. Zoom has become very popular. We just had a Zoom meeting, which was a little tough to put together, but we had a Zoom meeting where all of them were present, and I think Mrs. Osborne, Jean Osborne, everybody that has anything that Joanne, excuse me, but this is all hands on deck, and I think that everybody has been asked to step up, and they're doing whatever they want, whatever they need to do. Senator Sinema on Friday told us, well, because you can't really talk to her, she's just giving us a presentation, but told us that they were looking forward to putting into this new stimulus bill, the fourth stimulus bill, wanting to help counties and cities of less than 500,000, because it seems like in the first stimulus bill, the first $2 trillion stimulus bill, they were only dealing with counties with 500,000 people or more. So that is what she made it a point to direct us to the state and to try to get some support from the state, as we are smaller counties.
Yeah.
But the issue,
EGD.
that's right, the issue was or is that they're looking at CDBG as a method of distribution, and CDBG is not really that good for the counties. So I actually sent that question in an email, but I think instead of putting it as the context of the question, I put it in as the heading for the item, the issue. So they didn't get it all, but they addressed the fact that they already knew, because I think there had been plenty of letters sent from. That's also another person I like to mention, Craig Sullivan and Penny Adams and all those people that we CSA and I was going to say NACO and ACO and everybody. I mean, this has been really trying times, but what is shown to me anyway is that people can almost handle anything if they get together to do it. So I know I'm going to miss somebody, but I just wanted to say that. Thank you very much. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, so.
And we all feel the same way. Thank you.
All right, well, then you start first. You want to say anything about social distancing, remember?
That was the longest part of the meeting, huh?
Well, there's so many people.
I know that our congressmen and our senators,
Raul
our federal
Grijalva. They're gonna
congressmen and
make me remember.
senators have been working very hard to make sure that people in Yuma County, small businesses in Yuma County, are helped by the PPP program, and there are several of them that have been helped because they weren't on the first round. So all we can do now is call our congressmen and tell them to please negotiate this next plan and make sure that it goes out to small businesses all over our state and all over the country. So.
And I didn't mean to forget both our representatives, Congressman Grijalva and Congressman Gozar. Each in their own way are supporting us, and it's nice to see it coming from both ends.
I know,
but the support's been there from both of them. From what I know, I mean, it's been there.
And that we need to make sure that they don't fund the counties through CBGT.
Well, that's going to be tough. From listening to the conversation with Senator Sinema, that's going to be tough. They're looking for a way to get it done quickly, and that means that sometimes the decisions they make are not going to be very well researched. They just need some method to get it out here, and they figure that CDBG, who's been there forever, it's something we have agreed to in the past. Anyway, Supervisor Simmons?
No.
Supervisor Porches?
No.
Supervisor McLeod?
Oh, I stayed busy. Attended the CSA board meeting. Of course, all of these are telephonically or via web. The Western Interstate Region teleconference, Governor's Office teleconference. I know you've been on.
I've been on all of those too. I didn't add those.
Senator Sinema's teleconference.
I've been on all of those.
NACO teleconference as well. So, yeah, a lot of meetings electronically. So.
Yeah, Zoom has become very popular.
Yes, and I went to my National Heritage Area teleconference meeting as well.
And I guess I should apologize to my grandchildren for the money they're spending for the rest of their lives.
Don't apologize, it's deserved.
Just leave them your savings.
Yeah, that's right. I'll have to take out the sticker I have in the back of my truck, spending my kids' inheritance. So I have to take it out. Anyway, Susan, you're next. Dunya, I forgot Dunya.
Thank you. Yes, and Lynn Harlow Smith with the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Program. She and Tony Badilla are working very diligently to get requests from all the first responders and healthcare providers for the types of equipment that they need, and then distributing that as we get it, and to make sure that we're getting that PPE to the front lines as quickly as possible once we secure that. And so they're checking back with everybody to see if there's other unmet needs, so that we can, if possible, put in orders for the products that are available on the market. Some things are just not available, like test kits, but other PPE is available. We just need to know exactly what people need and to be able to supply that for them. So we are tracking that, and that is assisted by the $253,000 that came from the state, through the federal government, through the state, to our county public health preparedness grant. So that is being used for those purposes to help the first responders and healthcare providers.
Let's not forget we have an executive session at the end, so don't nobody leave, okay? We just got to get there.
And we recently have had some changes in a modification of our service levels and service methods for the customers and citizens of Yuma County, including this building. So what I've got is on the county's the webpage for the COVID-19 updates. It includes a list of all the offices and all the departments and what their office hours are, and how they're accepting appointments and communications, email addresses, phone numbers, so that people have one-stop list of how to contact those departments that they need to get service from.
Okay, if we're done with the majority of this meeting, then I do remind everyone we have an executive meeting coming up right after this, and so I'm going to entertain a motion to go into executive session and ask everybody that's not necessary to conduct this meeting to step outside, and ask the station to shut down the part, the open to the public part. And the item that we're going to discuss is legal advice in order for the Board of Supervisors to consider his position and instruct his attorneys regarding pending litigation in the matter of Stevens et al. City of Yuma et al. This matter is being brought in executive session pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03, A, 3, and 4.
Mr. Chairman, move to go to executive session.
Second.
Oh, Tony.
Okay.
Martin.
So Martin seconded. All those in favor of moving to executive session signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All right, so we're going to